This new Titan solo build lets you dominate in endgame PvE. Now Laurel is good, but this build today, this is going to the next level. You'll be running around in endgame PvE master content whilst under the recommended power level, continuously killing 2 champions at once instantly with infinite melee abilities. You'll have infinite restoration and radiant active with almost a 100% uptime, all while just melting everything in the game with your melee ability. And the best part about this build is it's good for everything. Ad clearing, champions, bosses, you name it. Heck, you don't even need to stun overloads, barriers, or even unstoppables. Just run up to them, slide melee, jump melee, and everything around you is instantly killed. Now there is a lot more to this build than just running around using your ability, because we have throwing hammers. We can create a restoration or radiant effect whenever we want. You can also use a ton of different exotics with this build, but I will point out now that Heart of Inmost Light is not being used with this build for infinite abilities, so you can use exotics to buff your damage instead. So guys, if you like this one, then be sure to leave a rating, comment, subscribe and share for more. And now let's first quickly check out today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is one of the best RPG mobile games out there, and here are the top 3 reasons why you should play Raid. Firstly, Raid is playable on mobile and PC. You can play Raid anywhere at any time using your mobile device. It's that easy. The second reason, it has a lot of variety. Raid is unique in so many ways, as you have unique champions and abilities, different factions, and the overall gameplay experience is amazing. And lastly, the consistency of content. Raid has updates on a regular basis that keeps players engaged every month with new champions, dungeons, and a lot more. And this month, Raid has actually just released another incredible new feature, Awakening, and a brand new dungeon called the Iron Twins Fortress. If you think you have what it takes to take down the Iron Twins, you'll be able to awaken your champions to choose powerful blessings that transform how they perform in battle, massively adding a whole new strategy experience. And that's not all. Raid has also just released a superpowered legendary version of everyone's favourite champion, Death Knight, to the Ultimate Death Knight. And he's powerful, he's perfect, and the best part is, anyone can get him for completely free. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and October 27th, and you'll have the Ultimate Death Knight waiting for you in your collections. And if you use my promo code DKRises, you'll get your new strongest champion to level 50 instantly. So this is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on screen, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. This includes a free epic champion, Aina, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard to help you get started in Raid. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. Just click the link in the description to start your journey, and I'll see you in the game. Now just quickly before we start, if you do like these build videos and you want to see more like this, then you can find the full collection of builds down in the playlist linked below. But with this build today, you will be able to run around just melting champions at the same time, instantly, even while under the recommended power level. So I can only imagine what this thing could do while massively over the power level, because honestly the amount of damage this melee can do is actually insane. The funny part about this build is that as long as you hit champions with that melee ability, you can kill them instantly, whether they are stunned or not. Of course with overloads that's a different story, as they can teleport around, so I would recommend that you do stun those, but with this build the way it's set up, you don't even need champion mods, especially anti-barrier, because they just die in less than a second. With this build though, you won't just have an OP melee ability, you'll have infinite powered melees, as we are using the throwing hammers, and the best part about that is that you can kill ads at any time to trigger restoration and radiant both at the same time, meaning that you will never die because you'll have infinite health regen and you'll always be buffed out with extra DPS due to radiant. There is honestly a lot going on with this build, but you will have double healing effects, DPS buffs, infinite abilities, and overall you're just going to obliterate everything with this new buffed out solo build. So a quick example of how you'll use this build, and doing this test in a master 1600 lost sector, you'll first run in and kill an ad with your hammer. This will spawn a sunspot, increasing your ability's regen speed, giving you restoration as well as radiant, and giving you solar elemental wells for even more healing. From here you'll just be a tank running around like a god, using your melee ability to slam into ads and champions to kill them instantly, and then you'll use your barricade and get a weapon final blow. This will spawn a void elemental well, giving you damage reduction by a further 40%. Then you'll just keep going around chaining between everything, getting hammer kills, ability kills, placing barricades down, and so on. And if on the unlikely chance you don't get your melee back, or you lose it, you just get a few kills with Monte Carlo, and you'll get it back while increasing damage further. This build is honestly no joke, and I mean you don't even need to use the ability slam, you can just throw hammers too, as everything is getting buffed with almost a 100% uptime. Now getting into the setup of this build, and like always there will be a dim link down below if you want to directly copy the build, but starting with the loadout, we're using Monte Carlo. You don't have to use this weapon, but if you want to guarantee that you get your melee back with a 100% uptime and no worries, then you'll want to use this because it will grant melee energy on kills and sometimes instantly recharges it. Amazing underrated exotic in my opinion, and definitely worth using, but other than that there are no specific weapons that you have to use with this build, but I would run something that can stun overloads, as hitting them while they are teleporting can be a real pain, so it's best to just stun them first. For the subclass we have the Solar Sunbreaker with the Hammer of Soul Super, then we have the Rally Barricade as it has a faster cooldown, and then a Throwing Hammer so that we can create sunspots, and as we pick them back up we'll basically have infinite throwing hammers to use as like an on-demand restoration and radiant whenever we want. For the grenade, you can use anything. I prefer the solar grenades as we can scorch more enemies, but if you need more healing then you can go with the actual healing grenade. Aspects are Soul Invictus so that solar ability final blows create sunspots, and our abilities regenerate faster when standing in it. And those sunspots we pass through will also give us restoration. This is by far one of the best aspects in the game in my opinion, and definitely worth using, because you'll create sunspots with your infinite hammers, which will recharge our actual ability faster when we use it afterwards. If throwing the hammer couldn't be picked up, honestly that would be a huge nerf for this subclass and would change a lot, so hopefully that will never happen. But the second aspect is Consecration. While sliding, activate your charge melee ability to launch a wave of solar energy forward, damaging and scorching targets in front of you. And while you're in the air, do the same thing for a second wave. Really good ability to use, and not many people are actually using it, but guys, this thing insta kills champions on master difficulty even while underpowered. You can use Roaring Flames instead of Soul Invictus if you want to further increase your ability's damage, but personally not worth sacrificing restoration and the increased recharge rate from sunspots. As for the fragments though, we have Ember of Searing so that defeating scorched targets grants melee energy, Ember of Torches so that us and allies can become radiant when you use your hammer on an enemy, Ember of Benevolence so that when applying restoration, cure or radiant to allies, grants us increased ability regeneration for a short time. You can change this out if you want to, but the last fragment is Ember of Eruption so that solar ignitions have an increased area of effect. We'll also get a plus 10 to the strength stat with that, and you do want to get your stats to 100 strength, 100 resilience as well as 100 discipline if you can, to really maximise the build with the ability spam. Now for the exotic armour, we are using Synthoceps. What this does is increase the melee lunge range and improves the melee and super damage while you are surrounded. I never really liked using these, but with this build it just wrecks. Now you can use things like Wormgod Caress, but you're limited with time on this, so that's a big downside. You also have Lorelei. I did cover this build not too long ago and it still works really well, but then you lose your melee damage, which is not what we want. And then you also have Hallowfire Heart or Heart of Inmost Light for faster abilities, but just be aware that if you do use these, you're probably not going to insta-kill champions on master level. Now moving to the main mods, first up we have Reaping Wellmaker. This will spawn in Void Wells after using our class ability and getting a weapon final blow, and then using those wells on Wealth Tenacity will get damage reduction. If you want, you can scrap Void Wells altogether and go with a heavy-handed Charger-like build so that you instantly get your melee back more often, but the way we have this build set up with Monte Carlo, this just isn't really needed and I feel it's a waste. So the next mod we're going to go with is Melee Wellmaker to spawn in solar wells on the melee kills with our hammer, and then Well of Life to get increased health regen when picking up those wells. This is good for when you 1. Don't have restoration active, and 2. When you have dumb modifiers like attrition where you don't get to regenerate your health. Either way, restoration will override this, but both combined will help you a lot with that extra survivability in GMs later this season. The very last mod we have though is Radiant Light. This is an open slot. I'm only using this so that we get the plus 20 to strength, so if you can get away without it, then you can use anything else of your choosing. Now back in the helmet for the normal mods, we have Inferno Whip so that our solo melees can stun unstoppables. It makes sense to just slot this on since we are a melee build, but we do also have our Ammo Finder for a heavy weapon that we'll use on bigger bosses. In the arms we have Momentum Transfer, so causing damage with our grenade reduces our melee cooldown. Again, only use this if you are actually using solo grenades. Otherwise we have our champion mod that we need, and by the way there is an anti-barrier auto rifle mod this season, so if you are using Monte Carlo and you don't have an exotic that increases your melee damage, then you can use that if you want to instead. But for the chest we have our damage resist mods, then in the legs we have our scavenger mod followed by Better Already, and then lastly in the class we have distribution and bomber for the reduced ability cooldowns. Now overall I think this build has to be by far the best solo build right now for the Titans, because you're getting that really high damage and melee ability while also getting restoration whenever you want. So using Lorelei is actually just not needed anymore unless you really struggle to survive in PvE and you always forget to get hammer kills for the restoration every now and again. But honestly, a 10 out of 10 for this build. I'd say this and the Warlock Fusion build both have to be the best builds in the game in my opinion, and they're definitely worth using. So guys, that there is your new Titan solo ability build with infinite restoration and abilities in Destiny 2 Witch Queen Season of Plunder. Next, as always, be sure to check out the playlist down below for more new and updated builds this season, as I do cover builds every week here on the channel. But for now guys, have a good one, go light up those ads with this build, and I'll catch you all soon for the next build video. Peace out guys.